So let's keep going and try to understand this behavior. And by the way, we're talking about an emotional shutdown, which may also look like an emotional collapse. And I put that in your mind because we're trying to figure out, how would this be different? What looks different? What feels different? In terms of distinguishing between NPD and BPD. So let's look at now his core experience. This is now getting into the inner logic. The shutdown here appears to be primarily a response to a narcissistic injury, a collapse of being central, admired, or uniquely chosen. But what's the function of the shutdown? The shutdown functions and acts as withholding, that's what I just mentioned a moment ago in the passive aggressiveness, rather than him feeling completely abandoned. In other words, the inner logic is, if I'm not special, I will not give my vitality. In other words, I'm not going to be alive. I'm not going to be present unless I am the center of attention. This is an angry disengagement, not panic. And I'm saying that, I'm planting a seed for you to think about this, because panic, in contrast to the angry disengagement experienced here, is typically a more visceral, dysregulated response to perceived abandonment or threat. It often involves heightened arousal, fear of annihilation, I have to come back to that word, and a desperate need for reassurance or containment. This kind of collapse is more characteristic of borderline organization, where the shutdown is driven by intense anxiety and fear of being left alone, uncontained, rather than by anger over a loss of centrality or a narcissistic injury.